I'm Amanda Malone from Roseborough Travel. I thank you all for joining us today. I'm one of the owners here. I have a fabulous team, which half of my crew is actually on our Thanksgiving cruise right now. And so the other half is here, but mostly I have all assistants here today. So it's exciting. Thank you all for joining us today. We have two great presenters. First and foremost, I'm going to welcome Kelly. And she is from Swan Hellenic, and she's going to tell you everything there is to know about going on Swan Hellenic, the places that you can go to, and the extraordinary journeys that you can take. So, Kelly, take it away.
Thank you, Amanda.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you. I have a question. Has anyone been on an expedition before, or like a small ship sailing? Okay, so this is like new territory. I'm excited. So, see what others don't. A new era of expedition travel. You're going to get what that means in a minute. First, just a little bit about myself. I've been working in travel for 20 years. I started as a travel agent as my first job out of college when I didn't even have a passport, but just wanted to see the world. So I've had the incredible opportunity to travel all over the world. I joined Swan Hellenic in February 2023, and I got to go on my very first expedition. No matter how well traveled you are, when you get to go on a trip like this for the first time, it's like being a little kid. Because when is the last time that you felt so uncertain or like, how is this going to go? What is this going to be like? I've never done anything like this. When people travel so much, we all get used to how things work and the flow of travel. This is so different than anything you've ever done. So I like to share, I hope to share all my stories with you and bring this trip style to life because it is incredible. So, Swan Hellenic is probably a new name for all of you. Have any of you heard of us before? Okay, it's kind of a little niche brand. But we actually have 70 years of history behind the name Swan Hellenic. It started in 1950 by the Swan family. They had swan tours in Britain. It was a very iconic British exploration company. And in 1954, the Swan family partnered with the Hellenic Society of London. So that's where the name comes from. It's kind of a unique name. And they operated their first ever cultural expedition cruise to the Greek archaeology sites. So for 70 years, we've been known for operating immersive voyages, the destination and enrichment opportunities, and going a bit off the beaten path. We have new owners that bought the name Swan Hellenic in February 2020. So it's a whole new company behind the name, and they invested about $500 million in building 3 brand new expedition vessels that are very shiny and sparkly. So you'll get to see this picture I'm painting throughout the presentation. So I want to ask you, what comes to mind when you hear the word expedition? Anyone?
Africa.
Oh, okay. That's an unusual answer for most people.
Antarctica, maybe.
It's Antarctica, right? It is. The penguins and the polar bears and the parkas. This is the image that comes to mind for most people when we talk about the word expedition. But expedition is so much more than that. Expedition is sailing through the Breves Narrows in the Amazon of Brazil. Expedition is going into a full day exploration into the Atacama Desert and having an indigenous Pachamama ceremony in San Pedro de Atacama. Expedition is going and exploring the undiscovered parts of Africa, not just a safari, staying in fancy lodges, connecting with the culture and the history of places like Togo and Togoville, which is where voodoo comes from. There's entire layers of these places that most people never bother to learn about and explore. And we take you further into these destinations and truly connect you with the cultures and the history and the places in a way that most travel styles don't allow. Raja Ampat, Indonesia. This is at the top of my list. Has anyone heard of Raja Ampat? It is a series of 1,000 islands in a very remote part of Indonesia. And it's one of the most remote places in the world. And our little ship weaves in and out of these islands. Imagine the coral reefs. There's whale sharks you can go swimming with. There's uninhabited islands that we're landing our zodiacs on and doing jungle treks with our naturalist guides. There's also World War history in this part of the world. We're going to have World War history experts on board the sailings with incredible lectures. There's indigenous communities that have been living in these islands for hundreds of years, if not longer. This is like my type of destination because it has like everything a great trip needs. Expedition is access to leading experts in their fields. Has anyone heard of SETI? We're kind of near the Space Coast. SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. Swan Hellenic has a partnership with the SETI Institute, and we have 9 different sailings with SETI scientists on board that you're on a very small ship with like less than 200 people getting access to full lectures on various topics from the leading scientists in the world. That's part of expedition too, the level of education you get on a trip like this. So then the question is, if expeditions can be in all of these places around the world, like how do we actually define expedition? And Swan Hellenic has 4 pillars to any expedition that make up the spirit of what an expedition is. To be one with the destination, to connect with like-minded spirits, to go beyond, and to embrace the unexpected. Like that is at the core of what expedition is. And to give you an idea to expand upon these things, a lot of these pictures are my own pictures. I took this picture with an iPhone in Svalbard in the Arctic. Like that's the best picture I've ever taken on any trip. It's spectacular. To be one with the destination, you know, we're accessing pretty remote places. Not everywhere we go is super crazy and off the beaten path. Maybe we're going to places like the Scottish Highlands, but we're looking at through a different lens, a destination like that. But we go to some pretty off the beaten path places, and you really get to connect with nature, but also with yourself, because when's the last time you really put your phone down and you're so present, you hear every ice creek crack, like every bird noise, like you hear everything, like all your senses come alive in a landscape like this, and it's really extraordinary. So an expedition is not just a vacation, like it really has the power to be a transformative journey because you get to learn so much and connect with these places in a very special way. To connect with like-minded spirits, this is a huge part of expedition because people who go on a trip like this, they have like this curious mindset. They want to know about the world. Like that's what their motivation is, to go to crazy places where people look at you like, you're going where? So you're all there for a reason, no matter what country you're from. You know, about half of our guests are coming from North America, but half are coming from the rest of the world. So you could be in a Zodiac with 10 people speaking 3 different languages and come across the fur seal in Antarctica, and you share this moment together, and you are best friends. Like you are best friends with these people because you shared this moment. And that's a huge part of expedition because the ships are so small, you really do get to know everyone, and that makes it so much more special along the way. To go beyond. On a trip like this, you're not just going shopping in a port, you know, you're really doing a deep dive into these destinations. And whether we're in expedition mode or in cultural mode, you get to go beyond. I want to tell a story about one of my favorite excursions that I'm dying to do myself. But when we go along the coast of West Africa, we do a very Namibia intensive itinerary. And we take all of our guests about an hour and a half into the Namib Desert. And this is a certified dark sky park. So it's the 2nd best place in the world to see stars. And we put on an entire evening in the middle of the desert, in the middle of nowhere, with local musicians and local dancers and local culinary options and an amazing dinner right under the stars. These are actual photographs from one of the itineraries that we did through Namibia. And that's included. So the immersion is included on a trip like this. The other ways that we go beyond is through when we're in expedition mode. And that looks different depending on where we are in the world. It looks like Zodiac cruises where you're getting to go out and look for wildlife or cruise past icebergs. It looks like actual landings and going on hikes like that one I did in Svalbard. But in the tropical destinations like Indonesia or the Philippines or parts of Brazil, for example, you could be stand-up paddleboarding, you could be snorkeling, you could be doing jungle treks. It all looks a little different, but it really gets you into the heart of the place. Snowshoeing, kayaking also, so you get to be a little more active on a trip like this, but this is not, you don't have to be a professional athlete to go on a trip like this. There really is something for everyone. About 80% of our guests are 50 to 70 years old. And the expedition team does a great job at offering different options for different mobility levels so that everyone can really participate in an extraordinary trip like this. Citizen science, I think, is like the highest level of immersion because you actually get to help write the story on a trip like this. Last season in Antarctica, some guests got to go out in the citizen science zodiac with the scientists to help measure water clarity as one of the projects that we send data back to one of our partners. Because we're going to such remote places, it costs organizations a lot of money to send scientists to the places that we're going. So we have partnerships with NASA in the polar regions where our guests can help document different cloud formations that we're seeing. We have partnerships with Stony Brook University to help document different bird species that we're seeing in these remote destinations, and with Happy Whale Foundation, which basically, if you know, a whale's tail is like its fingerprint. So if you are lucky enough to snap a picture of a whale's tail in Antarctica, you can upload it to this app, Happy Whale Foundation, and you can actually help track the migration patterns of these whales, which is pretty neat. And then the other way you really go beyond is with the access to the experts that I mentioned. Besides these guest scientists like SETI Institute, we have our core expedition team members that are leading experts in their fields, from marine biologists to naturalists to ornithologists. I got to hike up a mountain in Antarctica with an ornithologist through a colony of penguins, with this guy telling me everything about these penguins that we were seeing in real time. It's just mind-blowing what you get to do on a trip like this. And then you come back on board and they do full lecture series to expand upon what you got to see and do that day. But then my favorite part is our expedition team is part of the family. They don't just like go hide in the crew quarters when you're done. They're going to get a beer with you at the bar at happy hour or join you for dinner in the main dining room so you can continue to hear their jaw-dropping stories, which these guys are the most passionate people you could ever possibly travel with. They are the biggest nerds in the best way possible. But in addition to our core expedition team, we bring on guest experts. So when we're going around the world to all of these incredible places, we bring on guest experts that are experts in these local destinations. Like this past summer in Greenland, our guest expert was the first female prime minister of Greenland, which is pretty cool. And then the fourth pillar of expedition is to embrace the unexpected. You really have to go on a trip like this with an open mind because it's not like a set itinerary, especially in the polar regions. Mother Nature dictates everything we get to see and do every day that we wake up. Our team has plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G ready to go because things change. So you kind of have to have a very flexible mindset and go with the flow. When we're traveling through places like West Africa, they don't have huge tourism infrastructures, but this is what makes going there so cool. So you have to be a little flexible because things don't always go like how they would in a place like visiting Paris or Rome. Now, this is one of my favorite stories. I got to go kayaking in Svartsen Glacier in the Norwegian fjords. And after we were done with the actual excursion, the guide was like, hey, you guys want to walk down this dirt road for 15 minutes and I'll show you a glacial lake? And we're all like, yes. So we're all in our dry suits and our life jacket and everything. We're walking and we get to the glacial lake and this crazy Norwegian kept walking and dove head first into the lake. That's him by my foot. And we all looked at each other and like, we're going swimming. And all of us jumped in this glacial lake in our dry suits. That was not part of the plan. And that was the best part of the whole day. And the other part is our crew is also really empowered to make these magical moments happen on an expedition. My favorite story is we had a ship that was coming back from Antarctica and we were in the notorious Drake Passage. Have you heard of the Drake Passage? You have? Oh man. So it was not, it was okay weather. And the captain actually slammed on the brakes because the ship was surrounded by 100 orcas. And the weather was good enough, and we stayed there for 2 hours. And people were crying on their balconies, like the whales wanted to play. They stayed with the ship for 2 hours. Finally, the Coast Guard called us, and they're like, "Are you guys okay? Like no one stops in the Drake Passage. What's happening?" We're just taking in the whales. Not every company does that, but our team did that to create that moment for our guests, which was extraordinary. So think of all these pillars and what we've talked about, what expedition can look like, and apply it to all these places around the world, because Swan Hellenic goes to all of these places. So Antarctica, of course, is a huge deal. We have 3 ships that go to Antarctica. You can go to Antarctica from 9 nights is our shortest expedition. If that'll give you 4 days on the peninsula, because it takes 2 days to get there and 2 days to get back, crossing the Drake, all the way up to, we're actually going to have a 32-night expedition in 2027. If you are the type of person that's like, go big or go home, because we are going to have a semi-circumnavigation of Western Antarctica that goes all the way down to the Ross Sea to New Zealand. This is like the end-all be-all Antarctica trip. Not even every expedition company offers this. Then, of course, we're up in the Arctic. So Svalbard is one of the key areas where you could see polar bears that I also got to do. That was the picture I showed you. Iceland, Greenland, parts of the Norwegian fjords. Everywhere between, we have to get the ships between the poles, right? So one ship goes this way, one ship goes this way. And it's like basically world repositioning sailing with all these one-off segments that you can connect back to back to back. You could sail from Antarctica to the Arctic with us if you wanted, because we don't repeat itineraries. It's all completely unique journeys. So one ship will go up from Ushuaia after Antarctica is over. We'll sail through the Chilean fjords, along the Atacama Desert, along Peru and Ecuador and Colombia, the Panama Canal, even Belize and parts of the Caribbean, up to Halifax. And the other ship is going to do a 20-night crossing from Ushuaia all the way to Cape Town. That's going to do Antarctica, South Georgia, which is a big bucket list item for a lot of people. The Falkland Islands. There's a little tiny island right in the middle of the Atlantic called Tristan da Cunha. Has anyone heard of that? It's the most remote inhabited island in the world. There's like 200 people living there with no airport, literally. So we stopped there. Imagine like incredible like birds and penguins that don't exist anywhere else. Then we continue to Cape Town. We go up the entire west coast of Africa. This is truly extraordinary. If you've been everywhere and you're like looking for your next adventure, we can take you further. We go from Cape Town to Luanda, Angola, focusing on Namibia. We go from Luanda to Accra, Ghana. This is probably our most adventurous itinerary, focusing on like the Congo, Gabon. We were the first cruise line to ever even touch the country of Gabon, and many places in Ghana as well. Cote d'Ivoire, Benin, Togo. And then when we get up here, there's an archipelago of islands called the Bajago Archipelago. There's no cars, there's no roads. We land on these islands. They're a UNESCO Marine Reserve protected area. And we land on with the Zodiacs and we trek into the village to meet with the local people there. It's a matriarchal society, so the women are in charge. It's a very interesting place. You get to learn about incredible rituals and ceremonies. This is as authentic as it gets. And then the red route is going to take you all the way up to Solomon Islands and Papua New Guinea. So you could do a grand voyage of the Solomon Islands, Papua New Guinea, Indonesia, the Philippines, and Japan, which is extraordinary. So you can see all the incredible places we go. It really is amazing, the places that we're going. I pointed out that itinerary already. On a trip like this, we're not always in expedition mode. Some of these sailings are much more cultural. So that's where we include the land experiences. But sometimes we are in expedition mode. going through marshes or mangroves. It really depends on the makeup of the destination that we're in. Oh, there's the Bajago Archipelago as well. We'll bring like rice and drinking water to some of these places that we're visiting along our journeys. This is one of the coolest ones that I'm excited for because we have two astronomers on board from SETI Institute sailing from Valparaiso to Lima along the Atacama Desert, which is probably the best place in the world to see stars. One of them is in charge of two different NASA programs. Like these guys have all the credentials you could imagine, and you get to sail with them on an astronomy focused expedition, which is pretty neat. That happens in March, so just in a few months. And then to cap it all off, to like really connect the dots on what makes Swan Hellenic so special. It's that we marry the adventure of a true down and dirty expedition with 5-star service and accommodations in a completely unpretentious way. So you see the breadth of the incredible destinations that we're going to and the immersion that you get, but we marry that with incredible hardware in your accommodations, and food and luxury amenities will be fantastic on board. Just to give you some glimpses at what your home away from home would be like, we have 3 brand new ships. They're identical, so no matter which one you go on, you'll have a fabulous experience. There's pretty close to 1-to-1 guest to crew ratio, so the service is impeccable on board, like very intuitive, but down to earth. Our luxury is unpretentious luxury, okay? The adventure is the focus. The luxury is kind of happening in the background. There's no dress code. There's no formal nights. You can go eat a Michelin star dinner with wine pairings in your jeans and hiking boots on Swan Hellenic, which I love. The size of our ships is really important, especially if you're interested in the polar regions, because there's a lot of laws and regulations about what ships can do in protected places like this. So we get 2 landings per day since our ships have less than 200 guests on board, which is key to the type of experience that you're going to have. So it's maximum time off the ship in the destination exploring. If a ship has more than 200 guests, up to 500, you just get to get off once a day, and not everyone will be able to get off every day. So if you want the most immersive experience, you need to partner with less than 200 guests. Here's a glimpse at some of the amazing amenities that we have on these little tiny Sirius Expedition vessels. Full service spa, salon, any type of massage you want to get in between your explorations, full fitness center for how small these ships are. Everything has a view, even from a spin bike. You're going to see icebergs and waterfalls and incredible landscapes. Heated infinity pool on the aft of the ship. We make this as hot as the jacuzzi in the polar region, so everyone's out on the deck, even when it's cold out, enjoying the outdoor incredible landscapes that we're sailing through. We have an amazing sauna, and the jacuzzi's right outside as well. So all the amenities, top notch. But what's even better is the stateroom that you're going to have is gorgeous. One of the really special things about our ships is that almost every stateroom has an electric fireplace that crackles. So our staterooms are really spacious. They're 305 square feet for our standard balconies, which is really a great size for this type of ship. And 80% of our ships have all balconies, which is pretty rare in the world of expedition. So you get to bring the outdoors inside, step out in your robe, and get amazing pictures of icebergs with your coffee. There's so much storage space. It's very like a very cozy ambiance on board. I like to say you feel like you're allowed to sit on the couch at Swan Hellenic. And then to wrap it up, we actually have the highest rating out of every single expedition cruise line, which might be a surprise since you've never heard of us before. But we have over 200 reviews, and out of every major cruise line, we have the highest rating with 4.7 out of 5 stars from our guests. These are some of the things that they've said about us. Brilliant, period, but my favorite is Heavenly Hellenic. That one takes the cake. So definitely go read what people are saying about us and check us out if you're looking to do something different and unique and take your travels to the next level. And then I'll leave you with our Black Friday offer. You guys are like getting awesome presentations at the time when there's the best deals out there, and probably for the whole year. So we do have our Black Friday offer happening right now until December 2nd. With savings of up to $3,400 off per stateroom and $1,000 onboard credit, which you can use towards optional premium excursions, the spa, kayaking, wine reserve list. Like there's a lot of different options you could choose the onboard credit for. And I just wanted to point out some of the 4 different itineraries that really stand out for me on the Black Friday sale that I think are pretty special. The first one, who's a last minute planner? Anyone? Is anyone guilty of this? Because we do have last minute Antarctica availability still. If you've never been to Antarctica, at an incredible rate from $9,500 per person on a luxury ship. That's an amazing value. We have a departure on December 11th. If someone's like unsure if they want to commit to something like Svalbard or Antarctica, but they kind of want to dip their toe in expedition and see what it's like, there's this incredible itinerary in June from Bergen, which is part of Norway, to Longyearbyen. So it actually focuses on the Norwegian fjords, but then it goes up to Svalbard just for 3 days. So you get a taste of the Norwegian fjords for the majority of the trip, and then 3 days in polar expedition mode. So it's not like a huge commitment, like a nine-day expedition to Antarctica, so that you can kind of dip your toes and see if you like it, so that you can go down that road on the next trip. If anyone's like more like Kelly, I stopped talking about ice. I need the sun. We have an incredible 6-night voyage in Brazil. Has anyone been to Brazil before? I love Brazil. I'm obsessed with Rio de Janeiro. It's my favorite city in the whole world. And we have a short expedition, which is rare, from Salvador to Rio. And this is for people who like love beaches and sun, but also need culture, because this is like a tropical adventure, basically. We're going to places like Trancoso and Itacaré, which are these like rhythm-filled beach towns, a lot of incredible uninhabited beaches, but also amazing music and arts and cultures. And it's great to do an add-on in Rio that the Roseborough team could help you with, or even go to Iguazu or the Pantanal. It gives you flexibility to really customize a great trip in Brazil. And then the 4th one is for the people who really want to see what others don't, the true explorers. I have to say the Secrets of the Coral Triangle to Rajampat is at the top of my list to like do something really out there and unique. And that's actually an amazing value for a 10-night sailing, starting from just over $7,000 per person. Normally our trips are starting around $1,000 per person per night on average. So that's like a pretty amazing value for a trip like that. And that price includes round trip charter flights from Bali to the island. So you just have to get to Bali, and then we get you really off the beaten path from there. So those are my 4 tips. And I'm happy to answer a few questions. But I also want to tell you, if you are looking to take advantage of any Black Friday offers, if you book by December 2nd, which is when our Black Friday offer ends, through Roseborough Travel, we'll give you complimentary platinum Wi-Fi. And that's exclusive to Roseborough, which is normally $37 a night per person. So it's a nice little added benefit. Any questions? All right. Yes.
How many times have you had Russians and pirates out, kind of like along, I don't know,
In Africa?
Africa coast?
We haven't had any issues at all. We actually have a security boat that travels with us when we're in Africa. And imagine that we're sailing along West Africa. All of these governments and tourism boards want us to come there. So we have very good relationships with these places who are not going to jeopardize the opportunity that we both have. So we've had no issues.
There's a second boat.
Yeah.
Good question.
Yeah.
Definitely what people ask separately.
Yeah.
It happens. It's really-
Yeah, it is real. Yeah.
But with the tourism, they don't, like you said, they don't want it, so they kind of protect you as much as they can, but stuff happens.
Yeah.
It's good for their economies.
Yes.
I mean, sometimes the captain will take different precautions, like in certain areas where we're sailing, they might instruct the ship, like you have to close all your curtains and turn lights off in certain areas. If something, when we're sailing through certain areas, but we've never had anything happen. So
And that's all cruise lines that have.
Yeah,
Yeah. Brands and that.
I even just heard a story just recently of a big brand. So
Big ships. Big brain, you are a big brain.
Yeah, yes. So is anyone ready to do something extraordinary now? All right. Well, thank you for having me. I hope you liked it.
Most of your bookings you're looking at now at the end of this year and early next year.
We have,
Booked for that period. That is next year.
we actually have some 2027 departures that are on the Black Friday offer as well.
Okay.
So we have Antarctica out for 26, 27, but you've already done that. Oh, there you go. Well, you should do the 32 nighter.
No, we're not. We're doing that Drake passing again, that was horrible.
So we do have 2027 out as well. And some of the dates are part of Black Friday. So, and then next we're working on getting Antarctica for 27, 28 out. That will take just a little longer, but it shouldn't be too. Yes. Yes. So.
Very good.
Have you seen, there's a lady that posts all kinds of things on Facebook about small bar. Have you seen her?
I've heard, I think I know who you're talking about.
She
Yes.
did a great job of selling the place.
Yeah, I mean, Longyearbyen, like where she lives,
Yeah.
is like the quirkiest place ever. Have you been to,
No.
okay, like so Longyearbyen, where we fly people to get to Svalbard, imagine it's the most northern town in the world that has a population of like 2,500 people,
Yeah.
but there's no visa requirements to live or work there. So like there's this hodgepodge of humanity living in this northernmost town, who mostly people are going there to work in like research and environmental research and working also in tourism at the same time, because we work very closely together in a place like that. So there's this hodgepodge of people, but there's like the strangest laws there ever, because it's such a remote place, like, and there's polar bears and there's like predators. And so all of the people who live there carry a rifle. No one is allowed to lock their car doors in case someone has to jump into your car to get away from a polar bear. You're not allowed to have cats as pets because they'll eat the birds and will affect the whole chain. And no one can give birth or die on Svalbard.
Yeah.
So
You are not allowed to die.
no, you cannot. You must leave first. Because you can't be buried there because of the I think it's permafrost, not a scientist.
There's so many weeks pregnant, you have to leave.
Yeah, because they don't
Yeah.
have like ICU capabilities or, yeah,
But if you're a sponsor, you have to watch it, because she does a great job explaining all those things you talked about.
yeah.
And-
I need to start.
And there's the
watching.
World Seed Vault in Longyearbyen as well. So like if there was mass destruction,
Yeah.
all the seeds are kept there where they could replant countries where everything was burned or there was a war, or it's all underground in Longyearbyen.
Again, my name's Tim Palmer. Thank you very much for allowing me to join from the comfort of my own home. I'm coming to you from Massachusetts today. So you thought you were going to hear about Rocky Mountaineer, and you see Armstrong Collective up on the screen. The owner of our company, his name is Peter Armstrong. And as we grow as a company, we're going to grow with brands. So our Rocky Mountaineer brand is our brand that's up in British Columbia and Alberta. Our Canyon Spirit brand is that of the American Southwest in Colorado and Utah. So hopefully some of you are familiar with this logo and this look here. This is our Rocky Mountaineer brand, where we have 3 routes connecting Vancouver to Jasper, Lake Louise, and Banff. And when I say 3 routes, we are a train company, and I'll get into that in a little bit, but I just want to let you know where we're traveling first and which brand is bringing you. So when you're traveling with Rocky Mountaineer, you are exclusively going to be on our train routes traveling between the Canadian Rockies and Vancouver, British Columbia. When you are on Canyon Spirit, you will then be in the American Southwest on our train route that's connecting Salt Lake City through Moab, Glenwood Springs, and on to Denver, Colorado. So again, Peter Armstrong is our founder and owner. Here's a picture of Peter back in May of 1990 when he first started Rocky Mountaineer. And Peter's whole vision was daylight travel. Rocky Mountaineer does not operate overnight. We do travel by train during the day. We get off the train, sleep in a hotel, and then get back on the train the next day. We either do 2 or 3 consecutive days by train, no more than that. We do not have a 4-day rail journey. It's either 2 or 3 consecutive days. Now, when we're in Canada on Rocky Mountaineer, we have 2 classes of service. We have our Gold Leaf class of service and our Silver Leaf class of service. So the Gold Leaf class of service is an upstairs, downstairs. It's a bi-level. The Silver Leaf class of service, this is a single level train car. Now, the concept of the Silver Leaf class of service, it's a big, open, airy train car. You can see this image here does it justice. You have a tremendous amount of windows, lots of light coming through, even a semi-dome or dome, if you will, as well. It's a 16-foot high train car, so you have more than enough headspace. When you are traveling with Rocky Mountaineer in our Silverleaf class of service, you are going to have dining done at your seat. So when we are traveling on the train, it's an all-inclusive environment. All of your food, all of your alcohol is included. The host will be bringing them to your seat. You also have very clean windows to see the scenery out of. You have a small outdoor viewing platform in our Silverleaf class of service. So that's a great opportunity to be on with Rocky Mountaineer. We use this same class of service when we are doing our US route because the Gold Leaf class of service, our double-decker train car, this does not fit through the tunnels in Colorado and Utah. And you can see here, this is a 18.5-foot high train car. Again, 2 stories to it. So when you're traveling with us, you have your assigned seat in the upstairs level of the bi-level train car here. And then we have our dining in the downstairs. Not only is the location different, obviously, with Gold Leaf, you go downstairs to eat rather than at your seat, but the menu itself will be different. You'll have 8 different items to choose from for breakfast and lunch versus 2 or 3 items to choose from for breakfast and lunch. And then the outdoor viewing platform is definitely a highlight as well. Typically, if you took the exact same itinerary, because what we do is we'll take our 2 or 3 day rail excursion and then build a more robust itinerary that features some motor coach exploration. If you did the exact same itinerary but upgraded to Gold Leaf, it would be about $1,000 more per person for that upgrade from Silverleaf to Gold Leaf. Now, what do you do on a train all day? I'm not going to be able to go into every detail of this, but it's lots of socializing. It's lots of experimenting with maybe a new food that you've had. So the culinary experience is definitely a highlight. The hosts on board are doing narration throughout the duration of the trip, letting you know where you're going. So you're traveling at a leisure pace, maybe 30 miles an hour, and then we pull into a midpoint hotel stay. If you're traveling with us in Canada, you're probably going to go through the town of Kamloops. We put your luggage on a truck in the morning. You got onto the train just with a day bag. You didn't have to worry about your luggage. Your luggage arrives to your hotel at the midpoint location prior to the train arriving. So when you get into your room, your luggage is simply waiting there for you. You get out of your room the next morning, you leave your luggage behind, and you get back on the train for another wonderful 10 hours, 11 hours of sightseeing, of engaging in great conversation with perhaps new friends, of enjoying the wonderful food. Of course, also enjoying the libations. I believe Bailey's is the most served drink on all of our train, and it's typically Bailey's with coffee, but if you want Bailey's alone, by all means, you can have that. So again, we have 3 different rail routes. You have our northern route that connects Vancouver through Whistler, Quesnel, and then on to Jasper. And then you have our 2 other rail routes that do a 2-day rail journey with the overnight stay in the town of Kamloops. So we can travel east to west or west to east. You could start in Calgary and end in Vancouver. And I say we have 3 rail journeys. For the first time ever in 2026, we will actually be adding a fourth rail journey or fourth route, and that is Passage to the Peaks. In June and July of 2026, you're going to have FIFA World Cup in Vancouver. It's limiting our amount of hotels. So typically we have 2 trains on the tracks between Jasper and Vancouver, and we're going to limit that to just 1 train on the track between Jasper and Vancouver. So there's going to be a new route that's going to connect Banff Lake Louise through Kamloops onto Jasper. And to do an itinerary with that, it might look like this. So this is where I say we take the rail route and we use that as a base and build a more robust itinerary around it. So in this situation, you would start in Calgary, end in Calgary. You would go up to Banff for 2 nights, take the train Banff to Kamloops, overnight Kamloops, the train Kamloops up to Jasper, overnight in Jasper for 2 nights, and then motor coach from Jasper down to Lake Louise, and then motor coach from Lake Louise back to Calgary, spending 2 nights in all Jasper, Lake Louise, and Banff. Those are consecutive nights, and then the Calgary 2 nights are a beginning and end. So other than this itinerary, all of our Rocky Mountain Air trips will include Vancouver. Vancouver's a great destination, one that I highly recommend at least 2 nights stay in, maybe 3. In the upper left-hand corner, you see Stanley Park. You have Granville Island and the public markets in the upper right-hand corner. Beautiful sunsets and sunrises. And then you also see the Capilano Suspension Bridge. If you're afraid of heights, this is absolutely horrible, but it's a lot of fun to just try it. So get out, enjoy yourself, see what the Capilano Suspension Bridge has to offer. You're about 230 feet, I believe, above the gorge below. When you get across, you have these little Ewok village, different suspended bridges, as well as elevated decking, if you will. You also have one of the best seawalls in all of the world around Vancouver. So you can go for a walk, go for a bike ride, or watch people walking and bike riding on the seawall. Get down to Canada Place, where all the cruise ships come in and the conference center is. So more than enough to do in Vancouver. So when you're really choosing a route with us, you have to decide, do you want to go up to Jasper, or is Banff and Lake Louise enough? Jasper is going to add on an additional national park. You can see here, Malign Lake is definitely a highlight. Jasper is going to add on additional opportunities for natural beauty, for wildlife. Definitely a highlight of the destination. When we leave Jasper behind, we're now doing it by motor coach. So we're going to go down the Icefields Parkway, connecting Jasper down to Lake Louise and Banff. We again do this in partnership with Brewster Motor Coach. And when we do a transfer, we include sightseeing. So on this day, when we're going down the Icefields Parkway, we're going to go over to the Athabasca Glacier. This is part of the Columbia Icefield. And we're going to go up on the Columbia Icefield, rather the Athabasca Glacier, in these snow coaches. Really unique experience. Part of the sightseeing this day is also going to be going to the Glacier Skywalk. Again, if you have a fear of heights, let's just see how you feel when you get onto a glass skywalk overlooking a valley. Definitely a nice highlight. And we include a lunch on this day at the Glacier Visitor Center as well. Now, you may have chosen to go down to Lake Louise. Lake Louise definitely is known well for its beautiful blue-colored waters. The Chateau Lake Louise itself, the beautiful Victoria Glacier off in the background. Now, if you want to see Lake Louise without ice on it, you need to travel after June 1st. Rocky Mountain Air operates April through October, and the ice will stay in the lake up until about June 1st. So if you really want to make sure there's no ice in the lake and you have that blue color, you want to get out there maybe after the first week of June. But May is a spectacular time of year. May is a great time of year for the wildlife. When you're going for a hike, you want to hike with someone that's a little bit slower than you. just in case you do encounter some wildlife. I'm kidding, naturally. We don't want to leave anyone behind, but wildlife is definitely abundant. The grizzlies will come out of hibernation in April or May. You have a lot that are in the valleys rummaging for berries and different new shoots. When we leave Lake Louise behind and head down to Banff, we're going to do another sightseeing trip with our transfer, and going to Emerald Lake would be one of the highlights on that day. This is another lake that it's going to take until the end of May at least for the ice to come fully out of. I was there on May 15th last year, and the ice was almost out of the lake entirely, but still holding on. Another nice place to visit is the Natural Falls, or Natural Bridge rather. And you can see in the image the people that are up on the falls. It gives you a better understanding of the size of this. This is on the Bow River. So we'll stop at some really nice, unique, natural vista type of locations before arriving into Banff. Banff is well known for its great shopping, well known for its great restaurants. It is located right on the Bow River. There's phenomenal paths and walking areas all around Banff. We'll get a great view of the Fairmont Banff Springs from a location called Surprise Corner before we go up on the Banff gondola to the top of Sulphur Mountain. When you get to the top, you have this fantastic visitor center, and there's a little path that you can take to even go up a little bit further. So whenever you're traveling with Rocky Mountaineer, you have the opportunity to go from Vancouver to Calgary, Calgary to Vancouver. You have an opportunity to experience multiple days in these locations. Calgary, in my opinion, great location for a single night stay. Use it more as a gateway city just for the airport. But Stevens Ave in Calgary, going up to the Calgary Tower as well, there's lots to do. Now, if you have 2 weeks and you want to see everything, we have an itinerary like this one here. This is the Best of the Rockies Circle Journey. It's going to be a 14-day itinerary. You would start and end in Vancouver, multiple nights at the beginning, multiple nights at the end. We'll do our northern route from Vancouver up through Whistler, Quesnel, on to Jasper. That's 3 days on the train on Rainforest to Gold Rush. We'll then have multiple night stays in Jasper, Lake Louise, and Banff. You can see even all the way up to 3 nights in Banff, if you will, and then take our first passage west back. And I prematurely clicked there, but definitely a great opportunity to see one of our itineraries. We have itineraries in Canada that range from a 2-day trip all the way up to a 15-day trip. And after doing Canada for 30 years, we introduced a new route to the company, and that is called Rockies to the Red Rocks. Rockies to the Red Rocks is our route that is connecting Denver, Colorado to Salt Lake City, or Salt Lake City to Denver, Colorado. And this is on our brand called Canyon Spirit. So everything up until now, I've been talking about Rocky Mountaineer. I'll now talk about Canyon Spirit. With the Canyon Spirit rail journey, you can do this as a 2-day or a 3-day rail only experience. So if you want, you can do this Salt Lake City, down to Moab, over to Glenwood Springs and on to Denver, or you can just connect Moab through Glenwood Springs and on to Denver again, and both can go east to west or west to east. And no, can't play a video there. It doesn't play very well. So the onboard experience that we have. The onboard experience, we're not calling this Silverleaf class of service anymore. The Silverleaf, the Gold Leaf, it has a maple leaf connotation that is clearly Canadian biased. So we're calling this the signature experience since we only have one level or one designed coach that we're using. Again, big, airy, open. Your all-inclusive environment continues on with Canyon Spirit. When we're in the signature experience, you are dining at your seat. You see the extra legroom that you have. And this image always makes me think, when I'm on a plane and I'm starting to eat and the person in front of me moves their chair, is extremely disturbing. That situation does not happen when traveling on Canyon Spirit or when traveling on Rocky Mountaineer in this class of service. The seats are a bucket seat. When you decide to move your seat, the frame of the seat does not move, only the actual internal part. So when you recline your seat, it moves forward, kind of creates a recline, but does not disturb the person behind you, which is definitely a key highlight. We do have an upgrade. The upgrade is called our Premier upgrade. It gives you access to the 2 lounge cars. So everyone traveling with us on Canyon Spirit is going to have their seat in the signature class of service. If you choose to have the upgrade, you have the upgrade to our lounge cars. Both have an additional bartender on board. Both have an additional bathroom on board. You can see the difference, obviously, in the makeup of the actual design of it, but very similar, oversized seating, additional area to stretch your legs. But again, your dining still will be at your seat in the signature class of service. So from Denver to Salt Lake City, we go out of Union Station in Denver, and immediately you're going to be graced with some of those tunnels that made our decision, unfortunately, to keep the Gold Leaf class of service in Canada. The Moffat Tunnel being the longest of this. The Moffat Tunnel is 6 miles long. It goes through the Continental Divide at an elevation of 9,300 feet. You have about a half a mile of earth above you. Really marvel of engineering compared to the switchbacks that trains used to have to take, where it would take about 3 hours to get over the Continental Divide instead of 12 minutes to go through the Continental Divide. When we do get through the Continental Divide, we're on the more precipitous side of the Colorado Rockies. You're very close to the start of the Colorado River, which we will follow through the duration of our trip onto Moab. So you'll see the different canyons that the Colorado River has eroded over the years. We'll overnight in the town of Glenwood Springs. Glenwood Springs was put on the map about 140, 150 years ago because of the natural spring, hot springs in the area. And you can see right in this image here, there is the largest natural mineral hot springs pool in North America in the middle of Glenwood Springs. So an overnight stay there, similar situation. Your luggage is waiting for you in your hotel room. The next day when you get back on board, you're just taking your day bag with you. You're going to go past Mount Garfield. You'll get through Palisade and then on to Ruby Canyon, where you finally see the namesake of this Rockies to the Red Rocks route name. And, you have beautiful scenery following the Colorado still before we get into Moab. Moab is the gateway to Arches National Park. There are a ton of additional activities, everything from slick rock trails with a Hummer Safari to the high-speed jet boats on the Colorado River. So this is where we give people the opportunity to either continue on with us for 3 days or stay in Moab for an additional 2, 3, 4 nights and explore all that Moab has to offer. We partner with some great hotels such as the Hilton Hoodoo before we get back on the train and head back up to Salt Lake City. If you have not experienced the beauty of Salt Lake City, definitely worth your time. Salt Lake City is just a well-kept, very clean environment. They're getting ready for the 2034 Winter Olympics, and that is just putting a little bit more shine on the city itself. One of our more unique itineraries is going to do Denver to Moab, the 2 days by train. And then when you get to Moab, you'll spend 2 nights there, go to Arches National Park, Canyonlands National Park. And then when we leave Moab, we do it by an 8-passenger Sprinter van. So we do it in a small group environment with a driver guide. And we go from Moab into Bryce National Park for the night and then out to Vegas. So you'll get an opportunity to have a 3-4 hour tour through Arches National Park. You'll get into Canyonlands National Park. And for those of you in the know, this is a view of Canyonlands National Park from Dead Horse Point State Park. So we'll actually go all the way into Canyonlands National Park on this itinerary. You'll do a drive-through of Capitol Reef before getting into Bryce National Park. And look at this one too. Look at the size of this person compared to the hoodoos in Bryce. We overnight at the Best Western Plus. We do dinner and a show at Ebenezer's Bar and Grill. This is a unique highlight. Definitely some fun. And then you have breakfast in the morning before continuing on to Zion. We stop in the town of Springdale for lunch before we bring you to Las Vegas. Now, we do not do a hotel room in Las Vegas. There's a lot of people that do that. So we give that freedom back to you to choose what hotel you want in Vegas. But otherwise, it's a very inclusive itinerary. Folks, I want to say thank you very much. And again, I apologize for being late, and I will take any questions that you have about Canyon Spirit and Rocky Mountaineer or Longyear Bien and Bergen.
You said May was the best travel time?
You know, I'll go back to that. I want to ask you, what do you want to see? For wildlife, you know, May 1st to June 1st, or perhaps August 20th to September 20th would be two of the best times for wildlife. It's when the, you know, grizzlies are coming out of hibernation, obviously in May, the black bears. But in September, you also get the rut of the elk and the moose. So you get a little bit more activity in that time period. If wildlife is not what you're looking for, perhaps a June 15th to July 15th. Now, you're going to see wildlife regardless. I'm just talking about it being heightened versus, you know, getting a few elk and maybe the stray moose along the way. So, but June 15th to July 15th is great because of the amount of daylight. You know, you feel energized. The sun's not going down until 10:30, 11 o'clock at times, coming back up at 4 or 5 in the morning. So that is a lot of fun there.
When is the less crowded time?
You'll have less people in the month of May because some people are looking for those lakes to be unfrozen.
Oh.
You know, I showed you Malign Lake up in Jasper. There's another one called Minnewanka. We do lake cruises on them. Sometimes they don't open until the end of May. So again, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to see? Some attractions in April or May are not open yet just due to weather. They are open all the way through October. What happens in October is that you lose daylight. And that's the reason we stop operating, is just lack of daylight. Our train operates during the day. So we want you to be able to see the beauty of the scenery. And, you know, this time of year, you're seeing it in your own backyard. The sun is setting early. So September is by far the busiest time of year.
We have another question.
Hello.
I just have a quick question for you. When you travel to one of these towns and you stay 2 nights in one of the places, does your company offer excursions or entertainment within that town?
So we do have a couple. But what we'll do at that point, and we'll turn you over to your travel professionals in the room to share what we do have. And this is where we're not a cookie cutter escorted tour. Rocky Mountaineer is a hosted, you know, independent experience, if you will. So when you have 2 nights in the town of Banff, and we went from Calgary up to Banff. Well, we had sightseeing that day from Calgary up to Banff. You have that midday that we don't have anything included. And then the next day when you leave and do another transfer to another town, we're going to have some sightseeing included. So we work with a company, and I showed it earlier, Brewster Motor Coach. Brewster Motor Coach is actually owned by one company called Pursuit. And Pursuit owns about 85% of the attractions in the area. The Banff Gondola, the Jasper Gondola, Lake Minnewanka Cruise, Malign Lake Cruise. There's a lot that we don't offer every single thing they do. So you may want to book separate from what we offer on that free day with the company that owns the product in the area.
Okay, thank you.
But it's on our website as far as what we suggest, what you can buy from us. But there's even more that we suggest that we're just not being the middleman on. Good question. I appreciate that question. And that goes with everywhere we go. You know, in Jasper as well, if there's something unique that you want to do that we're not offering, there just may be a better supplier that you could work with on that. And the travel professionals in the room would be able to really make sure that that works for you.
Yeah, so generally speaking, when we have somebody book what they call a circle journey, and spends a longer time, Rocky Mountaineer will send us a link of the options that they have. And then we give it to you, our travelers, and say, if you want us to book any of these, we'll be happy to. And they normally give us about, I would say, 5 or 6 options that are really good, solid options. But then when we have clients who are looking to go do something more off the beaten path, each one of our advisors in the office works with the same third-party suppliers that will give you other options that you can do as well. And then also, I don't know if you went over it, I'm sorry, I was kind of running around a little bit. While you're in Chateau Lake Louise or things like that, they often have an entire schedule of events for the month that you can participate in, special hikes, walks, experiences. If you're bringing or if there's kids that are there in the summertime, if the kids are there, they have kid-friendly programs. If you don't want to do anything active, you don't have to do the active stuff. And they have a nice combination of options that are included just for staying at Chateau Lake Louise.
You know, that coincides with what location you're staying at. And that's a very good point, because if you're staying in Jasper at the Jasper Park Lodge, you may not want to leave the Fairmont Jasper Park Lodge and the property because there's so much going on. Jasper is designated as a dark sky. They have dark sky designation, and there are opportunities definitely into October to get northern lights, for instance. You know, they have quite a bit to do and see. Banff, I could do nothing in Banff and have a great day. Just walking around Banff, seeing the sights, similar to Vancouver, but you may want to go to Bouchard Gardens. You may want to do a day trip out of Vancouver to go to Bouchard Gardens on Victoria Island. On Vancouver Island. So just a lot of good opportunities, but you're with the right travel agency. They understand it and they get it.
Thank you. Did you have another question?
I do have one more question. Do you happen to have an expert security detail aboard the train to keep the horseback marauders at bay?
We only have that in the U.S. Southwest. They are sheriffs mostly, deputized. No, we don't typically get any horseback marauders that are coming and attacking the train. So no, we haven't seen many like that. Thinking about, you know, perhaps the Somali pirates will make their way past Africa up there some point. So we'll keep an eye out. But
I love that is
currently we're pretty darn safe. The train tracks are highly protected, and you know, I say we don't have that. So I was kidding for a second, but when I think back to it, Canadian National, Canadian Pacific, Union Pacific, the 3 train companies that we work with, they have people watching the train tracks at all times. I don't think we realize it as non-trained people, but if you know a train person, they know the safety that's put into those tracks at all times. It's pretty amazing. So, although we don't have any people on horses trying to come after us, there are things that fall on the tracks. There are other situations that happen on the tracks, and it is cleaned up on a daily basis, hourly basis.
You have cattle wander on the tracks ever?
The wildlife on the track, it's kind of interesting. So with the wildlife, they actually are more concerned with grizzlies. That's the number one thing that they don't want to hit. And with the black bear, and the reason that they even come close to the track, the trains coming out of the plains of Alberta, Saskatchewan have grain on them. So the grain trains from the plains,
That's sometimes fast.
yeah, they drop some of the grain along the track and attract wildlife. So what has happened over the years is they actually put signals on the tracks. If we're coming around a corner and cannot see a mile in front of us, when we come around that corner, there is a bell that is done about a half mile up, and it disturbs the wildlife from the tracks. So any area that you can't see around a bend typically has some type of wildlife warning system.
Wonderful. Any other questions?
Good
All
question.
right.
Thank you.
I think that is it. So thank you so much, Tim, for joining us today. Thank you for the great presentation, and thank you to all of our explorers who joined us. Thank you. We will collect any paperwork that you filled out. And if you have any other questions, our team will be happy to stay, and it will be me most likely answering the questions. And we'll be happy to answer questions, or the girls will take information and we'll get back with you if I can't answer, whatever it is, and we will go from there. Thank you
Right.
so much for joining
Thank
us.
you.
Thanks for the great presentation.
All right. Bye now.